With 17 million people in the UK living under local lockdown measures, supermarkets have seen an increase in shoppers stockpiling essential items.
Managing Director of Iceland, Richard Walker, is urging people not to panic buy and says there's no issues with the supply chain, so shoppers should only buy what they need.
Well, we're going to be talking to Richard in just a moment, but first let's speak to mum of two, Emma Tarry, who says she's been sensible by stockpiling enough food, medication and toiletries to get her family through until January. So, good morning to you, Emma. Right, what have you bought and how much?
Morning. I've bought a lot of things, really. I've probably got about 400 tins, about 700 nappies. My fridge freezer's bigger than normal, so I'm able to stock it with more, like, frozen foods and stuff like that. I've also got into baking a bit as well, so I've been buying, like, flour and things like that. So if, like, I need to go to a supermarket, I can, instead of having to store bread, I can just make some at home. Because my main issue with it all is every time we go to a supermarket, at this point, we're putting our families at risk. So I think it's best that we just go to the supermarkets and shops as little as possible. And also I do most of mine online, so I'm not affecting my local supermarkets.
Well, you say, actually, you go more extreme than that you think it's not unrealistic to think that potentially the government could ration our foods and you want to protect your family from that. So there's a lot of fear here for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, I have a lot of anxiety around this issue just because, like, the kids were back at school for a week, the school got closed, and, like, not just that, with everything going on, it's, like, unprecedented times. Like, this has never happened before on such an international level. And I think, like, rationing would potentially be a thing if everybody was unable to go to work and work in the supermarkets. And not just that, the items in the supermarket are not sanitised. And that's potentially a breeding ground for bacteria and stuff. So I don't feel comfortable having to put my family at risk every time I need, like, a bottle of milk or a loaf of bread or something. So I do just try and limit to how often I have to go out by stockpiling in advance. With the first one, I'd already prepared. When I seen what was going on with Italy in the news, before England went into a national lockdown, I was already preparing. And because I've done it gradually over a period of time, I haven't had, like, a huge impact on my local supermarkets. And in that time, I've been able to help my friends and family as well.
Oh, which is nice of you to be able to do. But don't you see that it's people who stockpile that cause the shortages in the first place? There was that ludicrous story in the first lockdown where everyone thought we're going to be short of toilet paper because the Australians were short of toilet paper. The reason they were short of toilet paper was because their toilet paper is manufactured in China, and so therefore the production was limited, whereas our toilet paper is made in this country. There was never, ever going to be a shortage, and it was just the fact that people bought ridiculous amounts that made the shortages in the first place.
Yeah, I fully understand what you're saying, and I think, like, stockpiling, if it's done properly and you don't go too excessive, is okay, but, like, with everybody buying it all at once at the same time, if people have prepared months in advance or, like, bought it offline off, like, Amazon or somewhere, and left it in the supermarkets for the elderly people or the workers that aren't able to sit in all day and wait for a parcel, I do think that would take some of the strain off the supermarkets.
But there will be people that are watching this that will say, look, you said you're buying it online, so you're not going to the supermarkets. However, what you're doing is you're taking away delivery slots from people who may be, isolating or unwell or who are shielding. And actually, what you're doing is incredibly selfish.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that, but I'm a mum myself and I've got a child with special needs and I've got a weakened immune system. So for me, like, staying in and having stuff delivered, I'm then able to sanitise it properly and store it correctly. And I understand people say it's selfish, but at the end of the day, if my child needs Calpol or some type of item and I have it in and everybody else has panicked buyed at last minute, then that way at least I'm organised. And, I just want to make sure that my kids and myself are looked after, as well as my friends and family.
You're terrified of a complete second lockdown. You think there's going to be food rationing. You've bought all your food. You don't have to go out till January. I mean, is that a healthy way to view life? I mean, if there isn't a vaccine in January or beyond, when are you going to go out?
Well, I do go out, but I limit going out to as little as possible. Just because, like, going out at the moment with the coronavirus thing does give me, like, anxiety. I just don't want to have to go out all the time, like every time I need something. And this way I'm able to stay in and keep my family safe from the coronavirus.
Emma, thank you. Let's bring in Richard now. So, Richard, I imagine you were listening to what Emma had to say. And I guess whatever you feel about what Emma's doing, this is her reality. For many, many people, they'll be feeling the same way. What can you say to kind of alleviate her concerns and other people watching this thinking, oh, my God, I need to go out and buy something?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to say is I totally sympathise with Emma, and I understand. You know, I say this as a consumer rather than a retailer. These are such unsettling, uncertain times, and all Emma is trying to do is provide for her family. So, you know, I get it, and who would not want to do that? But as a retailer, I can assure Emma, that there is absolutely no problem whatsoever with stock. There's no supply shortages. There's no issue with suppliers. You should see my 5 distribution centres around the country. They are stuffed full, 100% with stock, floor to ceiling worth of toilet roll and everything else in between. So it's really important that, firstly, consumers understand that there are no issues out there.
Did you learn from the first lockdown?
Yeah, I think we really did. And I hope that the retail industry has been vindicated in that, yes, our supply lines were knocked. And there was a temporary issue where there were some empty shelves on key items, but we recovered very quickly. We stood shoulder to shoulder, we worked with the government, and we got things back up and running. And you're right, we also now have more history and data in terms of the usual suspects of what sells when people start to panic: toilet roll, flour, canned goods, things like that. But this isn't a supply side issue, this is a demand issue. And I think I have a responsibility to reassure people. It's good to see that you're taking your responsibility seriously by reassuring the nation. And I think some of the scaremongering that's gone on across the media is quite frankly unhelpful. But most importantly, consumers have a responsibility to look out for each other. And sometimes that can be something as simple as just buy what you need and nothing more. Because the reality is, last time round, there were elderly people, vulnerable people. We set up a dedicated hour for them. And I listened to heartbreaking calls where there was an old woman trapped inside her house, unable to get out, and she couldn't shop online. She couldn't go to the shops. She was without food, without toilet roll. It was an awful situation. And we don't want to return to that.
No, so the biggest message for anybody watching this today is there is absolutely no need to panic buy. The supply chains are there and in place, and you will not be going hungry.
Absolutely not. And we are seeing increases on certain items, but nothing on the scale of last time. And I am entirely relaxed and confident we'll get through this. In fact, I'm so relaxed. I don't know whether Emma bought all of her stock from us or not, but even if she didn't, she can return it all to Iceland. And I can guarantee her, because we've got 100,000 free delivery slots every single day now, we can more than meet demand, and she can get a delivery slot every week until she feels like she needs it, until Christmas. No problem.
Has that reassured you at all, Emma?
Slightly. My issue mainly isn't so much with the supermarkets not being able to keep up, because obviously supermarkets make money and the government wants to keep the economy going. My main issue is like going to the supermarket repeatedly for like, if I was to have to go multiple times a week or once, twice a week, and then potentially putting my family at risk because the items aren't sanitised.
I guess that's why the delivery slots have been...
So for me, I prefer to limit like how often I go to the supermarkets. Yeah.
Which therefore you'd book a delivery slot, wouldn't you, Richard? Which is what you were saying, and you've increased those as well.
We've had to really pivot and change as a business, and we've ramped up our online delivery slots 400% because all of the trends that were happening have sped up, you know, and 5 years has happened in 5 months. So online shopping's totally fine. We've got more than enough capacity. We're even prioritising vulnerable elderly people. And yesterday we announced students because they're locked down in their dorms, unable to get access. So we've given them a voucher, we've got a dedicated website for them, and we're prioritising slots for them as well. So there's no problem, more than enough online slots to go around, and just keep calm and carry on shopping, but only what you need.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma.